John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast, in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast.
It's a Lack of Genius first. And, you know, before I even get into what's first, you know what I realized is it's fun to acknowledge like the first time we do something, but we could, if we really wanted to, like just think of a word that's probably never been said on our podcast and then say, oh, this is a Lack of Genius first. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't think the word tuba has ever been said on the Lack of Genius podcast. And if I'm right, then that was just a Lack of Genius first that we experienced.
I mean, I know anti-disestablishmentarianism has not been.
It has now, and that was a Lack of Genius first. What is the Lack of Genius first? It is the first time that there is only one quiz when it's just the two of us, when it's just John and Kevin. We obviously, when we have a guest on, only have one quiz, but we're trying out something new. We're trying a format where I quiz John one week, John quizzes me another week, and this week, I am quizzing John. We're going to see how this goes. We'd love your feedback as always. You know how to reach us on all the socials, but today's quiz, as you probably already know from seeing the title of the episode, is on one-hit wonders. So I obviously have plenty to say on the topic, considering that I'm supposed to be the genius, but what's like the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear that, John? What is your take on one-hit wonders?
The Oneaters.
The Oneaters? That's not even in my quiz. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You've never seen That Thing You Do?
Oh, yes. The Wonders, because that was the name of their band, The Wonders?
Yeah, but without the W, it was like Oneders.
I love that I just put a whole quiz together, and the very first thing you say, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. For me, when it comes to one-hit wonders, my mind mainly goes to like the 90s and the early 2000s, and maybe that's just because that's when I grew up, but like there were so many like quirky little songs that the artist came up, had the hit, and then you never heard from them again. But, you know, the interesting thing in my research, and I don't go as far back as the 50s and 60s, but you know, there's been one-hit wonders since music has existed, especially since music sales has existed. You know, so many of the songs that we know and love from, you know, again, 50s, 60s, 70s, they're essentially one-hit wonders. They had the one big hit and then that was it. Now, the interesting thing about one-hit wonders is there's sort of multiple definitions of it, right? Like, by a literal definition, it means an artist had a song that reached the top 40 on the Billboard Hot 100, you know, and this is even debatable. Some say just reached the Hot 100, so it was in the Hot 100, but some say it was actually in the top 40, which are the top 40 songs in the nation for that week, but then never had another song reach it. The interesting thing about that is that means an artist who falls into that definition is Beck. Beck is technically a one-hit wonder because his song Loser hit the top 40, but never had another song reach that. But I would guess that, I mean, Beck just won a Grammy for Best Album a few years ago. But I like to think of it more as like a cultural definition, right? Where it's like, you know, more of an artist who popped out of nowhere, had this big hit, and then was never seen again. So instead of going into listing a bunch of examples of that, because that's what my quiz does, we're gonna move forward, and then when we get to quiz time, you'll hear all your favorite one hit. You won't hear them because we don't have the rights to them, but we'll relive some one hit wonders. And I will tell you, John, my quiz goes a little bit into somewhere it's the technical definition and somewhere it's more of a cultural definition, but it's all in fun. So we'll see what happens. All right.
So I mean, what you're telling me is it's probably gonna be someone that we used to know.
Bravo. That's a teaser. If you don't know why that's a teaser, you'll find out very soon, all right?
Tidy up before we go any further with the show. Tidy up before we go fix our mistakes tonight. I wanna get it right. Tidy up.
Okay, so last week, John, we did our summer camps, and if I recall correctly, you were 100% perfect, and everything you said was absolutely correct. Is that correct?
As far as I know. No one has said elsewise.
No one has said otherwise. I would actually love if somebody did have something to say about either of those, just because I think we're both very thorough in what we did in terms of our summer camp quizzes. What I will say is I went to who I consider to be my direct source of a historian, my dad, to ask him two specific things because there were two things that bugged me that I did not know the answer to. One of them was the acreage of Camp Laverne. Camp Mac is 200 acres of land, which made me like rethink what an acre was altogether because I estimated that maybe Camp Laverne was 5 acres. Turns out I was actually pretty close, 10.8 acres.
Okay.
You know, I missed by I was half off, double 5 to 10. But compared to Camp Mac's 200 acres, 10.8 acres is so tiny.
Right.
And so I at least was accurate in that guess that, yeah, this is, we do have a much smaller camp.
That would be correct.
My dad found a document with some information that I love. So this is in the records about Camp Laverne. Here it is. Camp Laverne, quote, consists of 10.8 acres of wooded mountain pine forest at an altitude of 6,800 feet in approximately 27 miles from Redlands and 35 miles from Big Bear.
And it sounds like you should put that on the website.
Hey, thank you. Okay, John, there it is. That tells you everything you need to know about its location,
It
right?
does. Yeah,
Yes.
no, I mean, it totally tells you because, if I was just, I went to the website to see if it said on there.
There's
and I'm
nothing.
like, yeah, there's nothing. Like, it doesn't tell you, at least in Indiana, with Camp Mac, you know what to pack for,
Yeah.
It tells you where it is, but with Laverne, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's funny because I think there's just such an assumption that if you're coming to Camp Laverne, you basically already know what it is. But this is the kind of thinking we need to get out of in order to bring new people in. This is a fresh place that nobody's ever heard of. And what do they... So this has been a great little brainstorm session. So that little... I'm just going to say, found in some document at camp, here is what Camp Laverne is. The other one, a little less specific, but I mentioned the tree that smells like butterscotch and or vanilla. I remembered after the fact, but I verified it with my dad. It's called a Jeffrey pine. Jeffrey, like the name. Jeffrey pine is very aromatic. I mean, you get up next to it and it's like, whoa, this smells delicious. I want to lick this tree. But I have licked the tree and I will tell you don't do it because it turns out it tastes like tree. It only smells like butterscotch and vanilla. So, do you have anything on, did you look up Jeffrey pines?
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. I'm not seeing anything about a smell.
Interesting. Jeffrey pine smell, if we just Google that. The scent of Pinus jeffreyi is variously described as reminiscent of vanilla, lemon, pineapple, violets, apple, and quite commonly butterscotch.
It's the resin.
It's the resin. That's the sap, right?
So, well, it's specifically the N-heptane in the resin. It's the 100% and 100% isooctane. An octane is, what strength the gas is.
That's why it's a smell, because it's a...
Yeah, it's a volatile chemical.
Yeah, it's a volatile chemical. Wow. But it's safe to smell it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent.
Wait a minute, John. I'm going to need you to be the scientist here. Should I stop encouraging campers to put their nose up to this tree and inhale?
I don't think you're going to run into any issues. You want to know something scary about California?
No.
There are counties in California that you don't want to live because of the natural asbestos that's in the air.
It's natural asbestos?
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from? Plants or ground or
No,
like what?
the ground. Asbestos comes from a rock. And so the rock works its way up to the surface and just gets kicked up into the air. And
John, knowledge bomb.
I think that's the worst knowledge bomb you've ever given me as a resident of California, and I'm assuming and hope that LA County is not one of those counties. You better hope it's not.
It's time to take a quiz or two. Like a genius podcast doing this for you. You may fail, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time. Don't really want this quiz to be tough. I just wanna pass one cause I failed enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time.
All right, so I'm very excited about this. So rather than recap what we're doing, let's just hop right in. One-hit wonders, and the very first question on this quiz, John, has to do with, this is one of the ones that I think of instantly when I think of a one-hit wonder, and that is Lou Bega's Mambo No. 5. And again, maybe it's just the age that I grew up, the time that I grew up. This was a huge hit in 1999, and here is your question, John. Which of the following names is not mentioned in Lou Bega's Mambo No. 5? Is it A, Rita, B, Mary, C, Gabby, D, Sandra?
I believe it's Gabby. And you see, to me, like Lou Bega isn't a one-hit wonder because, you know, I actually had the whole CD and would listen to the whole thing. And there's other good stuff on there too.
Yeah, the way I see that is in your context, yeah, you knew that he had other songs that you liked, but in the rest of the world,
Right.
I would guess the average person couldn't name another Lou Bega song. Or really, if you said Lou Bega, they might not even know who you're talking about.
Right.
But that's cool that you actually had that CD. That is the fun fact of the day for me. Are you gonna lock in Gabby?
Yep.
John, Gabby is correct. Yes. So he lists the following names. He lists Angela, Pamela, Sandra, and Rita. And, you know, as he continues, they're only getting sweeter. Well, sweeter. But yeah, Angela and Pamela, Monica, Erica, Rita, Tina, Sandra, Mary, and Jessica. I so wish I had the audio for this, but when I was in Chicago after meeting up with you, I went out with my friend and I did an excellent rendition of Mambo No. 5. And he sent me the video, and then recently I cleared out my phone and I can't find the video anywhere.
Oh.
But that night, I literally said, "Is there anybody who fits one of these names?" And this woman named Rita comes on. I forced her to come on stage with me and make her sing the chorus with me, and she hated every second of it. I could tell. I was alluding to this at the beginning, though. So the music in that song, specifically the trumpet lines, were actually from a Cuban composer and band leader. His name's Perez Prado, and from his song 1950, which was called, I already forgot what it was called. Something Mambo. It wasn't Mambo No. 5, and it's not. Lou Bega's song is not a cover of that song because all the lyrics are original. It was actually just a completely musical song by Perez Prado. There was a lawsuit about it, and Lou Bega is actually German born, and so it was under German laws. And under German laws, a riff of a song can't be copyrighted. So technically, you could take a riff from any song in German if you're in Germany and use it. And so Lou Bega got to keep all his money.
Yeah, there's another song on that album called Tricky Tricky.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Which is also, it's an older song as well, I think.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Tricky Tricky because, you know, like you do in music, you get this huge song, Mambo No. 5, and so you got to follow it up with a second single. I remember Tricky Tricky being a single because I watched all this stuff on TRL, and then I remember Tricky Tricky coming out, and you know, the fact that I can't even remember what the song is. I'm sure if I listened to it, I'd be like, I remember that song. That was my jam. Yeah. All right, let's move on to number 2, and quickly, one thing I was going to say is that you could get one-hit wonders in different countries as well because the Billboard 100 is, I believe, just charting American. I mean, there's the German Billboard, there's the Australian Billboard. So different regions have different, anyways, you get what I'm saying. So here's number 2. This is according to a 2011 Rolling Stones poll of its readers. So again, these aren't like experts. These are just people who consume Rolling Stones from 2011. What is the most popular one-hit wonder of all time? Is it A, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back, B, a-ha's Take On Me, C, Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby, or D, Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen?
I mean, my personal favorite is Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen.
That's a great song.
It is. And the Save Ferris version is quite good as well.
Save Ferris version's really good. I also listened to Come On Eileen with whole new ears when I learned that it is essentially like an Irish jig. Like if you listen to it, it's violins, it's fiddles, it's it's an Irish song, but I always associate it with such an 80s song that I never heard it that way until I listened to some podcasts. And now you're listening to some podcasts, you the listener, learning the same thing, and you're never going to hear it the same way now. Anyways, I agree. That's a great song.
Yeah. And I mean, Vanilla Ice is not a one-hit wonder.
I see.
Culturally.
Yeah, culturally, I think he is.
I'd say culturally he isn't because you got Ninja Rap.
Yeah, but see, John, so we have different definitions. Like, for me, Vanilla Ice is almost like the epitome of a one-hit wonder. Like, yes, Ninja Rap was huge, and if you were there for the time, but he's a guy who Ice Ice Baby was it. Like that it was ginormous. It put him on the scene, and then he never had anything close to it. So it's not so much that these artists don't have another song that exists or that people know. It's just that they were nothing. But Ninja Rap, yeah, it was huge because it got on a movie. But yeah.
Well, I think it was written for the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, your question is a poll of readers.
Yes.
So it's not the pure definition of a one-hit wonder. This is,
Yeah.
a cultural,
Yeah.
and this was nearly, 11 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. This is the earliest I could find something like this. So that's why it's from 2011.
I'm going to say Baby Got Back.
Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby's Got Back. You think that's the Rolling Stones' choice for most popular one-hit wonder? John, that is incorrect. It was on the list, but Aha's Take on Me was considered the most popular one-hit wonder of all time. And it's a song, I mean, that and Come On Eileen both get crazy amount of play on the radio station I work for. Come On Eileen was also on that list. I think it was number 2. But this is sort of why I prefaced the thing about being in different countries, because if you lived in Europe or specifically like anywhere in Norway, you'd be like, no, Aha was huge. They had so many hits. But if you ask probably the average person today to name any song other than Take on Me, you'd be like, did they have another song?
Right.
So there you go. Rolling Stones readers from 2011 said, Aha, Take on Me. You ready for number 3?
I am.
Let's see. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this song. You familiar with LFO and the song Summer Girls? Yep. So this was from 1999. This was a one-hit wonder. This is, by the way, the Abercrombie and Fitch song, if you're not familiar. I like girls who wear Abercrombie and Fitch. And it's a jam, man. You got to go back and listen to it.
Take it if I just had one wish.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of Girls from the Summer or something like that.
I think it's Fly When Girls Stop By for the summer.
There it is. Yes. You probably know the whole song, don't you?
Not quite.
This song, by the way, has like so many just what they call non sequiturs, right? Where it's just they go from one thought to another and it doesn't make any sense, but it works in the rhyme scheme. So the band LFO, what does LFO stand for? And here are your 4 choices. Is it A, Let's Funk Out, B, Little Fresh Ones, and the end of ones is with a Z, Little Fresh Ones, C, Love 4 Octaves, Love is spelled L-U-V, the number 4, F-O-U-R, and then octave, Love 4 Octaves, or D, Light Funky Ones, Light is spelled L-Y-T-E, funky is F-U-N-K-I-E, and ones has an S at the end. So let me just read them without the differentiation again. Let's Funk Out, Little Fresh Ones, Love 4 Octaves, Light Funky Ones. What do you think, John?
Between Little Fresh Ones and Light Funky Ones.
They're all pretty terrible names, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go with Light Funky Ones.
Light Funky Ones, where the light is spelled L-Y-T-E. You locking it in?
Yep.
John, you know your LFO well, my friend. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. I was like, Light Funky Ones. And even funky is spelled funky. It's F-U-N-K-I-E. It's not spelled the normal way with the Y. Light Funky Ones. Yes, this was a boy band. It was 3 guys. And they have such a, really, I would go as far to say is a tragic story, because there are 3 of them. And look, Summer Girls was huge, put Abercrombie and Fitch on the map. I mean, literally, there's a documentary about Abercrombie and Fitch on, I think, Hulu right now. It's pretty fascinating, because they were basically just a totally exclusive and really a kind of racist like company. They were just all about pretty white people. And if you weren't pretty and white, then we don't want you here. But the reason I say it's kind of a tragic story, or it is a tragic story, is there's 3 of them. 2 of the 3 have already passed away. And, they would only be probably in their like mid 40s now. The lead singer and main songwriter, Rich Cronin, he had a long battle with leukemia, and he sadly died in 2010. So nearly 12 years ago. And then one of the other members, Devin Lima, he just died about 3 years ago, 2019, also from a long battle with an illness, adrenal cancer. And yeah, he was only 41 when he died. So 2 of the 3 members have passed away. Now, what is nice is the final living member, his name's Brad Fischetti. He began touring with O-Town, who's one of my favorites of all time. They did start performing in 2019, and it was called the Y2K Tour. I do know that COVID got in the way of that, but it is nice that the thought was there, and that they did perform LFO songs in the memories of Rich and Devin, the 2 deceased members of LFO. So not to bum you out, but just to get you up to date on all things LFO, and we can listen to that song and honor those 2 men who gave us a really silly song, but something that has lasted, that broke through the cultural wall and affected all of us who were live at that time. So, all right, John, you're doing pretty good, man. What are you, 2 for 3, I think?
Yep.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, 2 for 3. Number 4, and we're doing 7 questions. This is your only true or false one. True or false, an American professional sports team is on the list of one-hit wonders by that technical definition.
True.
Yeah, you already know what it is, don't you?
Chicago Bears from, 1984, the Super Bowl shuffle?
Oh shoot, where's the year? I want to say it was 1989, but oh my god, I can't believe I don't have the year. It might have been 84. Yeah, the Super Bowl shuffle by the Chicago Bears literally charted it. See, okay, so this one, the song's popularity led to it being number 41 on the US Billboard Hot 100. So in this definition, it's just being on the Hot 100. This was the year they won the Super Bowl.
85.
85, there it is. Yes, I should have known that because that's the year I was born. It became the first sports team to record a rap song. And I love that differentiation because the previous year, the 49ers did a disco song. So this is the first rap song. It definitely became a trend as well, as a lot of teams did it. The Rams did it. They have a terrible song called Ram It, and the rap is just, they're just embarrassing raps. Yeah, it's literally the lyrics in that are ram it all day and ram it all night. And it's like, somebody didn't read that and think, maybe like we change that lyric. The Super Bowl shuffle, to its credit, is fun and catchy, and for the time was something that no one had ever seen. All but one player performed it. A defensive lineman named Dan Hampton refused to participate due to the song's arrogance, which hey man, I give him credit for. But in this instance, I was like, they're doing something fun. Let's just go for it.
Right.
And the nice thing too is that it did get a ton of popularity. All the proceeds from the song went to profit the Chicago Community Trust to help needy families in the Chicago area with clothing and shelter and food. And it's even said in the song, Walter Payton, who was one of the big players of that team, he has a lyric that says, "Now we're not doing this because we're greedy. The Bears are doing it to feed the needy." So yeah, good for them. Super Bowl shuffle. I figured you would know that being a Midwesterner. So
Yep.
nice, John. 3 for 4. You got your one-hit wonder knowledge going. Let's step into number 5. Okay, so I'm going to give you a lyric, and you have to tell me which of the following songs this actually fits into. So the lyric is, "Well, the party was nice, the party was pumping, and everybody having a ball. I tell the fellas, start the name calling, and everybody having a ball." Is that from Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping? That's the, "I get knocked down, but I get up again." Is that from that song? Vanilla Ice's Ice Ice Baby, which we already talked about. Biz Marquis' Just a Friend, which is, you got what I need. Or Baha Men's Who Let the Dogs Out, which I don't think I need to sing.
It was Baha Men Who Let the Dogs Out.
I could see it on your face that you already knew. In fact, it's literally the first lyric of the song after the first chorus, but it was also like the only lyric that didn't have a dog reference somewhere in it, so I wanted it to be vague. But yeah, that is Baha Men's Who Let the Dogs Out. That's another one for me that when I think of one-hit wonder, they're one of the ones that come to mind. It actually won a Grammy in 2001 for Best Dance Recording. The manager of Baha Men was like really excited about this song because, Baha Men didn't write this song. This song was given to their manager and he was like, "Oh my God, this is so Baha Men, we have to do it." He plays it for the lead singer of Baha Men and he's like, "No way in hell we're recording that song." But they went and recorded it anyways, and it was obviously a huge hit. It is let's see, Who Let the Dog Out is actually a cover of a 98 song that was just called Doggy by a Trinidadian calypso soca junkanoo artist named Anselm Douglas. Okay, so there, you got a bunch of information on Anselm Douglas. He says the song has nothing to do with dogs, but actually has a feminist theme, and even went as far as to say it's a man-bashing song. Now, I could read you the quote, but the way he describes it is really confusing. But he's essentially saying like, there's all these dudes who do this cat calling and try to and when he says "who let the dogs out," he's referring to all these men who aren't very respectful to women. Like, who let these dogs out? So there you go. The only other fun fact that I'll share about them is that in 2000, the Seattle Mariners were the first to play "Who Let the Dogs Out" at their stadium, and 2 days after they released it, Alex Rodriguez, who was like a young rookie at the time, made it his walk-up music. So A-Rod's walk-up music at one point was Baha Men's "Who Let the Dogs Out," and that's the favorite.
Oh, the irony.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my favorite fact that I've learned. I'm going to associate him with that song for the rest of my life. All right, Baha Men Who Let the Dogs Out. Always happy to talk about them. All right, John, you're 4 for 5, man. I'm very impressed. Let's see how you can do in our first ever 7-question solo quiz. Here's number 6. There are 3 songs all time that are considered one-hit wonders that contain the word whip in the title, W-H-I-P. Which of the following artists is not one of the artists with a whip song? Is it Devo, Silento, the Daz Band, or Eiffel 65?
I mean, I know Devo has one.
Yeah, I was going to ask what your familiarity is with these bands. I figured you'd know Devo for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Eiffel 65 fairly well, and I think they've got one with whip in it.
Okay.
But also, the website Vice,
Yes.
their YouTube channel, has a, you know VH1's like, behind the scenes or where are they now about bands.
Yeah.
It's something kind of like that, and they actually have one on Eiffel 65.
Really?
Yeah, but it's specifically about the song Blue.
Yeah. That's what I figured.
But they also have one about It Wasn't Me, that song.
Oh, Shaggy. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few others, like Papa Roach, one of the
Last Resort. Yep.
Yeah. So you should check that out. They're actually pretty good.
And you bring up, even you just bringing that up makes me think of another sort of like offset of one-hit wonderism is like Last Resort, for example. I could be wrong about this, but I'm sure that song charted on the alternative list, like number 1 repeatedly. In fact, the song that came to mind was Bloodhound Gang's Bad Touch. Like, I don't think that song ever charted on the Billboard 100, but it was a huge hit on the alternative charts. And so in some sense you could, and I know they had other songs. They had that Fire Starter song or something. They had other songs for sure, but I consider Bloodhound Gang to be a one-hit wonder because in my sort of experience of them, they had the Bad Touch, the You and Me, Baby Ain't Nothing But Mammal song, and that was it. And then, but they're sort of culturally, I don't know where they fall. Anyways, that's just one of the many differentiations. So.
I mean, and that might depend on, who you're talking to. Like,
Exactly.
Yes, I, growing up listened to a pop hit station, but that wasn't necessarily by choice. So that was what was on in the bus,
Oh, got it. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
And then eventually I listened to, a rock station, X103 out of Indy, which on Saturday nights had a 2-hour techno session called Planet X, which was
and
nice.
did you love it? Were you all about that life?
Oh yeah.
Techno was huge.
Yeah, Papa Roach was big,
Yeah.
Disturbed and all that. So I mean, it just depends on partially, where you're at and who you're talking to.
Yeah, that's why I talk about this cultural definition of like they really just like everybody knows this song. That it's really hard to define, but
right.
Yeah, man, I know what you're talking about.
But to answer the question of which artist does not have a song with the word whip in it, I'm just gonna go with the Daz Band. Just taking a stab.
Okay, John, that is incorrect. It was the one that you knew, Eiffel 65, because their one-hit wonder was Blue. Blue dabby dee dabby da dabby dee dabby. That was their one hit. And
okay,
so
I misread the question.
Oh, got it. You were
or I was thinking too deep into it.
I think that you were thinking, okay, maybe they have a song called Whip, but
right.
So Devo obviously has Whip It. I think that's the one that everyone knows. The Daz Band has a song called Let It Whip, and I wish I could. Unfortunately, I can't play it for you, but I promise you, if you go listen to it, you're gonna recognize it. It's more known for its musical section, less than it's known for a catchy chorus, but you will recognize it if you hear it. And Silento had the song "Watch Me Whip, Nay Nay." Watch me whip, watch me nay nay, watch me whip. Whip. So if you were able to know that song, but I don't know that most people could name the artist. Man, this was another one of those though where I wrote this song. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a fun little song. It's gonna be a fun little question about whip songs. It turns out Silento, the rapper, is in jail right now for the murder of his cousin. So that definitely went south. That song came out when he was only 17 years old. He's like, 24, 25 now, and I should use the word allegedly murdered his cousin. He has been indicted. I haven't seen the word charged, and I don't know enough about whether indicted means he was proven guilty, or it just means that he's been charged with or been accused of. I don't know. I don't know legal stuff.
Not sure.
But alleged murder of his cousin, and he did release some music while he's been in jail. He had a mixtape called Bars Behind Bars that he released in March 2021. but I don't think he'll ever reach the peaks that Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nay Nay got to. All right, John, you've done a really great job. You're 4 for 6. You have one more question. I alluded to one of the choices here in the beginning of this episode. According to Business Insider, what is the top-selling one-hit wonder of all time? Is it Los Del Rio's Macarena? This is the one that you mentioned. Gautier's Somebody That I Used to Know. Tag Team's Whoop, There It Is. Or Plain White T's Hey There, Delilah. The top-selling one-hit wonder of all time.
See, Gautier's, that was really kind of during the beginning of streaming. So I don't know if that would, if it was really sold a lot.
And I'll tell you, this is based on data from the RIAA, which is the Recording
Industry Association of America. Yeah.
Yeah. So however they charted things. Yeah. And they even said, the definition of one hit wonder is subjective, but this was a list. They had a list of 11 on here, but all 11 of these artists had one single that vastly outstripped all their other output commercially. I like that definition. One single that vastly outperformed all their other commercial songs. I think that's a good definition. Okay. So Los Del Rio's Macarena, Gautier's Somebody That I Used to Know, Tag Team's Whoop, There It Is, or Plain White T's Hey There, Delilah.
I kind of want to go with Tag Team just because of how many sports arenas would have purchased it to play it.
That's very good logic.
And high schools and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go with that.
Whoop, There It Is by Tag Team. John, for the final question in this quiz, you are incorrect. I'm sorry, my friend. It was Gautier's Somebody That I Used to Know. Now, again, they used the RIAA data. The differentiation that they use, and I don't know why they don't have exact numbers on this, but to split hairs, they looked at how many times platinum a song went. And so Gautier went 8 times platinum, whereas the Macarena went 4 times platinum, Tag Team went 4 times platinum, and Plain White T's Hey There, Delilah, which is a bop, man. I love that song. I don't know if bop is the right definition there for that song, but that song also went 4 times platinum. Here are the 11 songs that are on this list. Tag Team's Whoop, There It Is, Plain White T's Hey There, Delilah, Macarena, which, by the way, sometimes people get embarrassed to be a one-hit wonder, we went down in music history as just having that one song. These guys couldn't be happier. They're like, that song took care of us for life. We're 2 dudes from Mexico who never thought we'd have a hit. We couldn't be happier. And I did the Macarena. My friend Danny was on the news doing the Macarena back in 1995. Other songs on this list: Hinder's Lips of an Angel, which I do not like that song. Far East Movement's Fly Like a G6. Chameleonaire's Ride-In, Designer's Panda, which was just a song that went panda, 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 which I don't get why it was a hit. Sallento's Whip and Nay Nay, Passenger Let Her Go. And then the other one that was up there with Gautier's Somebody That I Used to Know, also went 8 times platinum, was Survivor's Eye of the Tiger. That very much is a one-hit wonder and still gets played like crazy today. So there you go. And that Gautier song, man, I love that song. That song still gets played. When it came out in 2011, at a time when I didn't have my mustache, I had multiple people say, whoa, that dude Gautier looks just like you, or vice versa, or whatever. I was like, really? And it's funny because I'm like, oh, that guy looks a little weird. And I'm like, oh, that means I look a little weird.
Still love you, Kevin.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you'll love me even more when I get on this, when I become a one-hit wonder, and then people are like, that guy looks like Gautier, and he has a big hit. Well, John, what'd you do? 4 for 7? Pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I would say that's a pretty good start for the first ever 7-question quiz about one-hit wonders.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And man, I gotta say, I didn't even touch some of the songs that, come up as some of the biggest one-hit wonders of all time. I know Blind Melon's No Rain is one that's considered a big one-hit wonder. I mean, I would really encourage anybody to just Google the word one-hit wonder and go relive all the songs that are on there, because it's just like, oh, that was such a good song. Oh, I missed that song. But there you go, John. Thanks for humoring me and letting me bring back to life Baha Men and Mambo No. 5 and many others. feel free to let us know what you think of this format. It does take away, I guess it sort of takes away the competition aspect, but we'll remember that you went 4 for 7, and we'll see how I do next week. And so then we can still see who's the winner and who's the loser, because that's what life is all about.
Yep.
It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast.
I think it's fly when girls stop by for the summer.